Okay, good morning, and yeah, thank you for the privilege, Philip and Rina. Yeah, I'm sharing with Tandeka. I don't know where she is now, but at school, I hate it orals. I don't like lots of eyes looking at me, but today I'm actually excited. I'm excited to share a bit of about what God's been done in my life, a bit of what I've learned from some people, yeah, and then hopefully encourages you. And I hope that each one of you receive something from today, whether it's from any one of us sharing, that really motivates you and a tool that you can use going forward. Okay, so this is just a little picture of a little cute baby saying, "You mean to tell me you don't know how to manage your money?" I thought that was cute, so I just put it in there. Okay, so then we start. This is my plan for this morning. Right at the end, there will be time for questions. So please keep your questions to the end. I want to focus and just run through it, and then maybe the answers come as I move through the different slides. So I'll tell you a bit about my background, and then the question: what is budgeting? Why should we budget? And then we'll get to an example and a practical, and there's also will be some pitfalls right at the end, and in between there will be some testimonies. Okay, so I know there's a German lady here. In German, the word for budget sounds very like a budgie. So that's a budgie in English. So can your budget fly? Let's see. So what is budgeting? Budgeting is creating a plan to spend your money. The spending plan is called a budget. So you determine in advance if you'll have enough for what you need and what you want. Budgeting is simply balancing your expenses with your income. It is a team sport. Yeah, and you can use it to be a good steward. And in it, you can also approach it or can be a tool to be thankful for what you have and what you can, even what you can pay for. So, do you have a spending plan? Do you guys have budgets? So, why should we budget? A little verse in Proverbs 27:23 says, "Know well the condition of your flock and pay attention to your herds." So we don't have flocks and herds anymore, but we have money. So we should know what's going on with our money. Okay, then the week following the request for me to speak here, in my quiet time, I read Luke 12. So there are a few treasures in there. So come and dig with me, and let's find them. Okay, so verse 13. Then one from the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or an arbitrator over you?" And he said to him, "Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses." Then he spoke a parable to them, saying, "The ground of a certain rich man yielded plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, 'What shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops?' So he said, 'I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there I will store all my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be for which you have provided?'" So I think the key verse is this verse 21. "So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." So I think that "and" is very important. I don't think it says we shouldn't lay up treasure or we shouldn't work, like Philip also shared, but rather in that, are we being rich towards God? Okay, then let's continue verse 22. Then he said to his disciples, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, nor about the body, what you will put on. Life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor barn, and God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? If you then are not able to do the least, why are you anxious for the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Then God so clothes the grass, which today is in the field and tomorrow is thrown into the oven. How much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith?" Sorry, I just realized I didn't start my timer. Okay, we continue, verse 29. "And do not seek what you should eat or what you should drink, nor have an anxious mind. For all these things the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knows that you need these things. but seek the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added to you. Do not fear, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell what you have and give alms. Provide yourself money bags which do not grow old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches nor moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Okay, then also the parable of the sower, where Jesus was telling about the seed falling all over the place. Some of the seed fell between the weeds, and when he explained this parable, he said, the weeds are two things. They are the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches that can choke us so that we do not bear fruit. Okay, so that's me on the scriptures for today. So just a summary. The rich fool that stands out to me is the greed. Like, are we just thinking about ourselves and what we can hoard up for ourselves? Or are we being rich towards God? Are we using, like Philip said, being good stewards, using this money for God's glory and wherever he directs us to give it? And then about the anxiety. Are we being anxious? Are we worrying? Or, like also elsewhere it says, Jesus said, scripture says, do not be anxious. So God doesn't want us to be anxious. And then I was thinking, okay, but how do we get our minds off this anxiety? And then it says, seeking his kingdom. So I think that sort of takes off our focus if we seek his kingdom. And then the weeds versus the good ground. Are we bearing the seeds, fruit? Okay, so when you are preparing your budget, you can prayerfully do it with God. He wants to be part in every area of our lives. And I've seen when I commit an area to God, I really experience his blessing there. But if I try to work it out on my own and make my own plans and stuff, it doesn't work. So make God part and central of it all. And it's a team sport. Do it with people. If you're married, do it with your spouse. If you still live with your parents, get them in as part of the plan. Or do it with a friend. It helps for accountability to reach your goals and, just to be accountable with how you use it. Like I said, it's time for a testimony. When we were pregnant with our first daughter, I've had like this dream, I think, since high school, maybe even earlier, that I wanted to be at home with our children. So we were doing the sums and calculating, are we going to manage it on one salary, just on my husband's salary? And it was tight. So we're like, okay, we can do it, but maybe for a year or two. And I was like, I was a bit anxious about this plan because I had a good job at Atterbury at that stage. And I was like, oh, Lord, should I do this? Should I take this jump? And I just felt God saying, and if it doesn't work out, what keeps you from looking for a job then? I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So we don't always have to do everything perfectly. Sometimes you try something, it doesn't work, and you can go and adjust it. Okay, so I resigned in December. May was born in January. And then the day before her birthday, at that stage, Peter was, he's still working at NMISA, NMISA. He had been working there for 5 years, and he had never received an increase. They're also not that regular on their annual bonuses. So the day before her birth, he received 2 letters. The one was an annual bonus. And then the other one that actually gone and adjusted salary. So he got an increase of 40%. So it's like, wow, Lord. Thank you just for your favor and, just coming through. So here are 6 practical steps in creating a budget. Step 1, what is your net income? What is the money you have coming in? Step 2, track your spending. What is your money going out? Step 3, set your goals. Do you have a student loan to pay off? Do you want to buy a house or a car? That will be your goal. Step 4, make a plan. How are you going to reach that goal? Okay, so here's a hint. Every month you can put away an amount of money and build up a fund to buy that or pay off or, pay that loan off step by step. Step 5, adjust your habits if necessary. To have a budget is to realize what is your spending habits and how are you going to reach your goals with your habits as they are, or do you need to go and adapt them? For example, if you are spending most of your money on entertainment, but you actually have a dream you want to buy this thing, maybe you need to spend a bit less on entertainment so you can save a bit more. Okay, then step 6, a budget is not set in stone. So you can go back and adjust it so that it stays up to date or, Okay, so what is the budget rule? Is there one ring to rule them all? Okay, so when you Google, there are lots of rules on the internet. So I will share. There's a 50-30-20 one that says use 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and save 20%. In determining, you're all going to develop your own budget rules. So you can actually share these. Oh, yeah, take one and pass along. So, yeah, you're going to develop a rule now. Remember the following things in your rule. 10th, alms. Alms is giving to the poor. 10th is giving to the church, 10% of your income. Family tax or honoring parents. So there are many rules out there. Prayerfully and practically develop your own. I also want to share this little one with you. So it says there are what? 5 categories. They say you can use 35% on housing, 15% on debt repayment, 10% savings, 25% on life, and 15% on transport. But you each know what you would like yours to look like. So this is not necessarily what it looks like at the moment. This is what you are aiming at. I would like to give 25%, and I would like to use 50% to live on and save 20% or whatever. So we're going to do this, but also in this, try to limit the categories so it's not too widely spread. So balance the level of detail, maybe 5 categories. Write down what you think or know is your budget rule. Then allocate a percentage to it. The percentages should add up to 100%. So this is another example of a group of housing 30%, groceries 20%, phones 10, transport 10, 10, saving or paying off debt 10%, and arms 10%. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this one, and then we'll continue. Okay, so where this budget rule comes in, it's going to be a tool you can use to adjust your budget. So if you see you aren't on the road where you're going, it's sort of to see, okay, this is where I want to head. So later on, we're going to compare our budgets to it. Okay, so while you're still busy, you can still continue. I'm going to share another testimony. So we had the opportunity to go to Germany for 3 years. My husband got a bursary to go and study his PhD or do his PhD there. Yeah, it was quite an interesting time. So we were renting a furnished apartment, but it was quite expensive, of course. So I was on the lookout for something more, cheaper. And then I came across people that were wanting to. Let me tell this. In Germany, if you rent an apartment, you get an empty shell. So you basically have a bathroom. You have to put in your own kitchen. You have to put in your own floors. You have to paint the walls. So you get this empty thing. So it's like, oh, this is not really making sense for us. We only want to be there for a short time. But then we came across people that wanted to sell their furniture. And the rent they were paying for the apartment was much less than we were paying. And it was like 5 minutes from Peter's work. So it was a good opportunity in that way. So I calculated it. I said, okay, so the amount of money these people want for the furniture, and I added the remaining time we still had in Germany. I think it was a year or a year and a half. And I compared that to what we would pay for the furnished place. So if I take that year and a half's monthly rent, what was the totals compared? So they were equal. But the bonus being, if we moved to this other place, at the end of this time, we would have the furniture, and whatever we could sell it for would be profit in our pockets, and we could use that when we come back to South Africa to help us buy a car or whatever we needed. So that's what we did. So sometimes saving is also different. It's not necessarily just putting away money, but also looking at other opportunities. Okay, so now we're going to get to the budget example. So here's another page. Did everybody get a page the first round? I've got some extra here if you didn't. So if there's not enough, just let me know. So on this one, you are going to fill in your budget. So first, leave the top section open. Let me just quickly get my example that I can just tell you what to do. So right at the top, there's 3 line items. So leave that until last. It says total income, total expenses, then income less expenses. The next section is your income section. So it's got a part that you put in the item line. So your salary, and then you classify whether it's fixed or variable. So if you work for a company and you earn a salary, then your income is fixed. But I think mine's But anyways, let me tell. Oh, I forgot to tell you about where I come from. Sorry. So while you're sharing out the forms, let me tell you a bit about that. I was born in Joburg, and then we moved to Stellenbosch when I was 13 years old. My dad got a job opportunity there. So I went to high school there. I studied BCom accounting there. And then I did my articles at a medium-sized audit firm called LDP Incorporated. And then in my second year of articles, I met Pieter Greer. And he had signed a job opportunity in Pretoria. So at the end of my second year of articles, he moved to Pretoria. And I was like thinking, yo, shouldn't I try to move my articles to Gauteng somewhere? Then at least I'm closer and can see him more often. And as I was considering this, I felt God saying to me, if you do that, I'm going to move Peter elsewhere. You're going to sit here in a new environment without your friends. I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like fun. I will stay in Stellenbosch. I was not looking forward to this year of long distance very much. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful for it. God taught us a lot about communication. And I think even in that year, I grew closer to God. I had to trust Him. Yeah. And He also blessed, I think, our obedience. He made it possible for me on a clerk's salary, which is not a lot. And for Peter, that was paying off his student loan, to see each other once every month, whether it was the first month he came up to do his oral for his degree, the second month he came to receive his degree, the third month I came through Pretoria back on a mission from Nepal. So every month something happened or somehow we could actually see each other. So that was really blessed. And then at the end of my articles, I moved to Joburg. My parents had in the meantime moved back, and I moved back into the house. And actually, I'd asked God years ago that I would like to one day get married out of my parents' house. So I didn't know He was going to do it this way. So He actually answered that prayer this way as well. And then, then after we got married, we moved in together. Yeah, and I even want to just say how awesome it is to do it God's way, not Hollywood's way. He gave us the grace to remain sexually pure, until marriage, and that was really it is such a blessing. So I just want to encourage you guys as well. Those of you who are still in the process, and even if you aren't, you can still decide today to do it God's way from here on. Okay, so now let's get back to the budget. Okay, so now you've got your budget, all of you. So we're going to start with the income one, where you fill in the item, that, like I said, your salary. You classify whether it's fixed or variable, and the amount. And then underneath is the expenses. So under the item line, you again say whether this is electricity. You'll say if it's fixed or variable. And then you can also differentiate if it's a need or a want. So we all need electricity, so that one's a need. And you'll write the amount that you spend on it per month. And then right at the end, you can calculate that expense as a percentage of your income so that you can see how it relates to your budget rule that you've set up earlier. And then the group is also relates to your budget rule, so you'll classify that expense under which of those groups it actually falls. So you can do the total thing. Okay, so I'm going to go through just a few items on our budget, so maybe it triggers something with you, like, oh yeah, I've also got that, I should put it on my budget as well. So our income streams, Peter's salary, it's fixed every month. I consult, so I get a salary depending on how many hours I worked per month. And then, we bought a house now in December, so quite recently. We renovated a flat, so hopefully soon we'll also be earning rental income. Then example of our expenses. So I've classified it between fixed and variable. The reason for this differentiation, if you want to go and see where you can cut your budget, you can't really cut it on the fixed expenses unless you take out that line item completely from your budget. But the variable ones are more, you can adapt them by using less. Okay, so our examples of fixed expenses is the 10% of our income before tax that we pay to the church. Then fixed expenses relating to our house is the bond that we currently pay off. Previously it was the rent we paid for our apartment. If you own a house, it's rates and taxes is also one of the fixed expenses. And then we live in a security area, so we also have to pay security levy. The fixed expenses relating to our car is installment, as we're still paying it off. And then both on house and car is insurance. It's also, and then the children's school fees, also swimming fees that I didn't put in here. So maybe in your case, it would be gym fees or whatever. Well, you could decide if it's fixed or variable because you could cancel. But like I said, it's fixed until you cancel it. So then it can disappear completely. But sometimes that's necessary for your sanity as well. Then I put in tax here under fixed. Peter's pay-as-you-earn is fixed because he earns a fixed salary. What I do want to mention is his income, like most of you that earn salary will know, gets paid in after deduction of his pay-as-you-earn and medical aid and stuff like this. So we don't necessarily have to budget for it on our budget, but I wanted to put it in here. My tax is variable because my income is variable. So as it fluctuates month per month, I actually have to go and calculate what is my tax so that I can put away that amount. And when I need to pay over to SARS, I don't have to scramble around and try to get all the money together. Every month I put away an amount that I know is tax and not mine to use. Okay, so our variable expenses on the house would be water and electricity, as it depends on the units we use. Gardening and cleaning, if we get somebody in to help us to clean. The car, fuel, depending on how much we traveled. Then the house and the car, do we need to do maintenance? Do we need to replace the brakes on the car? Is there something in the house that broke? So we have to budget for those kind of things. And then other things we budget for are gifts, groceries, clothes, entertainment, pharmacy or medical expenses, and then, like I said, my tax. Okay, so I already explained how the budget works. Yeah, as you complete it, thank God for each item. Thank Him for the income He gives you, and even thank Him for the expenses. Thank Him that you have a place that you can stay, that rent you can pay. Okay, and then, like I said, you can classify between fixed or variable and want or need, and then compare it to the budget rule. These are all tools to help you adjust your budget so that you can reach those targets or those goals you have. And then, when you want to save or want to know which line items to cut, when you say, I need money to save, where am I going to take this money away? Begin with the items where you're going to save the most. So, for instance, say it's entertainment. Like, I don't really need this much. I can go on much less. Rather than electricity, okay, I'm going to put off the light and see if I can save units that way. It's going to take much longer to have an effect on your budget. So start with the ones you're going to save the most. And then also out there are many budgeting apps and tools. Be careful for the third-party ones that connect to your bank accounts because you are sharing sensitive information, which is a bit risky. Okay, and then financial advisors. I want to share my quite inspiring story. My husband has a colleague called Ranshi, and when he was a student, he had a goal. He wanted to buy a bakkie. So he went to see a financial advisor, and together they drew up a saving plan, and every month he was dedicated and he put away that money. And this way he could realize his goal, and he bought his bakkie cash. Then he said now he has a dream. He wants to buy a house. So then he did the same. He drew up a savings plan, and he could realize that goal too. So that was quite encouraging for me. I like hearing stories like that. Okay, so how I do it currently. So we also draw up a budget. And then every month I go and I pull down our bank statements from the bank. Not necessarily once a month, like a few times. And I go and categorize every line item. I say, okay, was this grocery? So I don't necessarily keep the slips. It gets too much detail and takes too much time. So I just go and see, okay, we bought Checkers and we bought a disc game. And I go and classify it into those items on my budget. Then I use Excel to compare it to my budget. So that's the actuals, and I compare it to the budget. And I see where the differences are. Then I go and look, okay, why did we spend more on the house maintenance this month than budgeted? Oh, okay, we renovated the flat, so it's a once-off thing. And I make a note of it. So when I look back in a few months and I look at how we compare to the budget, like what happened that month? Oh, okay, that's what happened. So it stays a tool that can direct you going forward. You can see, do I need to adjust the budget again? Am I missing items? Or am I still on track? Yeah. So that's how it goes now. Time for another testimony. Buying a house. So I was quite content staying in a rented apartment. We've got what we need. If something breaks, we can ask the owners to come and fix it. And you're also not that tied down. If you need to go somewhere, it's easy just to give notice of your rents and you can go. But it was my husband's dream to buy a house. So we started the process. We had a goal. If we came back from Germany, we'll rent for 2 years, and then we'll start looking around. So we can also get a feel of the areas, where's a good area to buy. So we started this process. And then like the second or third time, putting in an offer and it doesn't go through. It's like, oh, Lord, is this really going to work out? I'm actually content where I am. It's fine. We can continue. And then I just felt God saying, but what if it's my time for something more? And I'm like, oh, okay, Lord. If this is from you and it's you guiding us, then I know you will provide for us. So then I'll continue. So I continue looking because it's quite exhausting going through all the advertisements, seeing this place, thinking, oh, can it work? And going to look at it and like making an offer and then somebody was just before you or something else. So yeah, so it worked out. We made an offer for a place. They accepted it. We even did homework before the time, how the bonds and everything work. And then when it came to to the real thing, there's like hiccups like, oh, it doesn't work like that anymore. But anyways, God was faithful and it worked out. So yeah, sometimes the budget is tight. That was also what I want to share with this. It didn't really make sense to me buying a house. But if it's God leading you to do something, step out in faith and He will provide. The month after we signed for the house, I got the job doing the consulting that I do now. So yeah. Okay, some pitfalls in budgeting. The first one is not having a budget. The second one is guessing or leaving out items because then your budget is not complete. The third one is tracking expenses. Your budget is not supposed to be a doorstop on your desktop. The fourth one is cash flow. If you receive a paycheck and you blast it in the first week and you don't really live for the next 3.5 weeks, it's not a very comfortable way of living or healthy way, I think. So that's also not the ideal. The fifth one is not working as a team. So if you are married and you've got a budget, the one is sticking to the budget and the other one is blasting the budget. Yeah. The sixth one is not having an emergency fund. So sometimes, some months, something comes up that you didn't budget for. Then you need to have saved some money and kept it separately for those months. So say your car broke down and you need to pay more, or you've got some unplanned medical expenses. You have to put away some money for these things. The seventh one is not budgeting for yourself. Example, entertainment. Because your budget isn't realistic then, you're not going to stick to it. So you need to build in for yourself as well. Number 8, assumptions. Are there too many unplanned or other items? So when you compare it to your actions, like, oh, I didn't budget for this. Oh, I didn't budget for that. Are they one-off things, or are they actually things that recur monthly? Because then bring them into your budget so that your budget is really a tool that you can know what you're getting in, what you're giving out. Okay, then number 9, cash flow. So we all like those sales or bargains, buy 2, get 1 free. But if you step back and think about it, do I need 2 bottles of shampoo this month? And now one costs 65 Rand. I can buy 2 for 100 Rand. I'm not going to use 2 in this month. And that extra 35 Rand I'm using, is it extra money I had? Or do I actually have to go and borrow at another expense so that I can pay for the shampoo that I don't need this month? So just remember those things. Okay, then I'm done. Any questions? Okay, I think there are some rules on that. Okay, so the question was, how do you go about planning your emergency fund? I think there's a general rule of saving to having 3 months of your salary. So that you have, yeah. So, but I think they can also share on that when it's their turn coming up on the investments. I think they'll share a bit more on that. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. So I actually paste my bank account, export from my bank account. I use a drop down to use the same expense type. So because Excel, if you put in spaces or type it differently, it's not going to pull through. Then I use VLOOKUPs to compare it to the budget. It was actually when I was looking for work now, because I was looking for something that I only have mornings free because I still want to spend time with my children. So I contacted a former colleague of mine to get contact details of my manager. And then she had, in the meantime, started her own consulting firm. So I actually joined her. Yeah. So she said, yeah, I should come and join her. And I'm enjoying it. It's fun.